Welcome to the Talent Learning Show podcast series, episode 60 with independent learning tech analyst John Lay. Today I interview Melissa McMann, education and training administrator at Kiwanis, about migrating certification programs online. You can find more of our fiercely independent content at talentedlearning.com. Well, welcome back, listeners, to the Talented Learning Show podcast series. On this show, I am fortunate to interview the world's leading experts in extended enterprise learning solutions from both the vendor and the practitioner perspectives. And today is no different. From the practitioner expert side of the fence, we're lucky to have Melissa McMann here today to share her experiences, best practice, and advice from moving Kiwanis service leadership certification programs from an in-person event-based, paper-based format to an online scalable format. You know, obviously COVID caught every training organization, every organization in the world by surprise, and especially training organizations with long established educational programs delivered in a live format. They're forced to make changes overnight. Everybody had to change gears and adapt, but not everybody changed gears in the same way or adapted in the same way. They took a lot of different approaches. And I'm fascinated to learn about those approaches. I'm fascinated to speak with organizations, professionals, and learn how it was before, how they used to do education, what the changes were, how they prioritized the changes and got it done, and what it turned out to be, and how they measured it, and what they're going to do going forward. And are they going to go back, or are things still changing? All those things really interest me. And I recently met Melissa and learned about the Kiwanis story and how they ran this program or made this transition. And I knew that she was going to be a perfect guest for the Talented Learning Show to show to our listeners, all of you listeners out there that are also, many of you, in nonprofits and associations that are, and corporations for that matter, that have certificate programs. And so since everybody does it differently, we're going to learn at great detail how Kiwanis achieved it and how they're going about it now today. And so I'm really super excited that Melissa could join us here today. And keep listening, listeners, to learn strategies and techniques you can use at your own organization. Melissa, welcome to the Talented Learning Show. It's great to have you here.
Great to be here.
All right, cool. So we met recently, and I learned the story of Kiwanis and what you guys did and how you migrated your solution. And it was so interesting. I wanted to bring you on our show so that we could tell it to all our followers here on the Talented Learning Show. So it's absolutely great to have you here. I think everybody, probably in 80 countries, knows the name of Kiwanis, but not everybody knows the basics of the organization and the overview and the history. Maybe you could give us a dime tour of the organization as a whole as we start in, and we'll dig in from there.
Okay, that sounds great. So more than a century, Kiwanis has created opportunities for children to be curious, safe, healthy, regardless of the community in which they live. And Kiwanis helps kids. Our mission is, as a global organization, is improving the world one child and one community at a time.
You know, a worthy mission. That's a worthy mission. It's a lot better than make widgets for sure. Okay. Tell us about, as we dig into this, we mentioned the certification programs in the intro. Tell us about Key Club and Circle K programs. Give us an overview of what the mission is of those programs and the scope of them, please.
Sure. So Key Club, we're getting ready to celebrate our 100-year anniversary in 2 years, but it is a student-led high school member organization that meets in schools and also community centers. And our members, our students, that are in high school or the secondary education, make the world a better place through service. So they are learning and growing and how to be strong individuals and leaders in their community by answering the call to lead, the courage to engage, and developing a heart to serve. That's our mission.
Wow, cool.
And then we also have, just for your listeners, we also have Circle K International, which is our college age clubs. And those are the college age students who follow on and do service learning and service leadership in college campuses. And then we also have our Builders Club, which are middle year students, and K Kids, which is for the primary years or elementary age. And so currently our LMS is focused on offering e-learning courses to our key clubs and our Circle K or Circle K International based on the accessibility that we have with the student membership, them being student leaders and having their own emails and being able to access our system. And we're working towards, future offerings for our younger age students as well.
Wow, excellent, excellent. So there's training components or educational components for all of these programs. Could you describe the educational components, I guess, as they were before COVID, perhaps? And then we'll talk about what had to change during the pandemic and through now. So historically, tell us about it, please.
Yeah, so historically, we had emailed out or sent basically meeting kits or chartering kits of paper manuals of officer guides. So a student who was going to be in a club officer, we had president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, and they would just get a packet. And that was their training. And then their adult advisor, either at the school, which we call faculty advisor, or a Kiwanis member advisor, they might offer the training, or there might be an opportunity for students to attend a state or a district convention or even international convention. So there was the in-person leadership workshops, and then there was a packet or a PDF guide. So during the pandemic, we really saw a need to pivot. Our clubs were closing down and they weren't meeting in person. So we were still going through our regular election cycle on an annual basis. So there were leaders that we still needed to train and educate.
And so was any of that tracked when you were doing that? Were you keeping files or
No, so it was just more of were the packets in the mailing sent, but not necessarily did all the students. Actually, was there any kind of evaluation data on that?
Interesting. And so COVID hit, the world changed for everybody overnight, and everybody had to shift their gears. If you couldn't do in person and you couldn't have those regional events, and maybe you could still do packets, but you had to change your strategy. What changed? How did you approach that?
Yeah. So, and I would also say, with the packets, that's also very pricey. And, during COVID, there were, shortages in paper. And so not only, we also wanted to provide our students, a benefit. What are they getting out of their membership if they're not able to meet in person? And so we did some research on what other large youth-serving nonprofits offer in the space of online courses, education, training. We were trying to offer virtual conventions or a virtual weekend for some things, but we really looked at what kind of leadership training or certificate program could we offer our students that they could take over a whole school year or even multiple school years. And so we worked with a vendor, a curriculum writer, and then we also found Crowd Wisdom and their LMS solution so that we could offer a leadership, but we were calling it Global Leadership Certificate.
So tell us about the Global Leadership Certificate or the certificates in general. What does that curriculum look like? How does it act? What kind of media is it?
So this is actually broader than just our officer guides. So this is more looking at what today's students need we have it broken out into or kind of organized in different pillars and competencies around our primary mission in Key Club and Circle K related to service, leadership, fellowship. And so some of those competencies are hard and soft skills. So related to communication or inclusion, but then also looking at strategic planning or tactical planning, because in the high schools, the students themselves might come up with their strategic plan for how they're going to fundraise for that year. So these different courses, there are actually 39 different courses, are organized by competencies, and the students can complete them at their own pace. and log in and out of the system.
Mhm. Is there 39 competencies, or is there more is it like a
So
competency per course, or is it broader than that?
there's 11 competencies, and then within those 11 competencies, there might be 4 or 5 courses.
Uh,
And they're also a progression. So we try to do it from, basic to kind of leveling up on each course.
wow. Okay. And what is what's the scope of a course? What does something like that look like? Is it video? Is
Yes.
it virtual parts?
So we were fortunate enough that our student leaders are international. So we have 11 international trustees. We recorded them giving the content and the script. So it's actually students giving the presentation. And so there's usually about a 5 or 10 minute video with then content. And then there's quizzes or assessments, or even asking questions about what they learned, but then also reflective questions, because the goal of these leadership courses are that the students would, take what they learn and take it back to their club meeting at school and what they learn, or how they could maybe facilitate a conversation about what they learned. And there are also PDF downloads, kind of like a study guide that students can also use after the course.
hmm hmm And any types of assessments or things like that in there, or is it
So right now we don't have it to the capacity of written assessments. That's something that if we were to get it accredited by some kind of leadership, training association or principals association, we would need to add that kind of component. But for right now, it is just kind of a complete and a pass. There's not necessarily a pass fail.
hmm Okay. And at the end of the learning path, you said it'd probably take them a whole year to go through paths.
We actually just recently we promoted it when some students were in for a weekend retreat here I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana. It was spring break, and so they completed them in a week. They just
Oh,
plowed through them in spring break. Yeah.
great. And at the end of it, they get what?
They get a certificate. So it is, we're excited that it's within the system. They'll receive a certificate. However, we're also really excited because we do have students who are completed the courses are going to our international convention. So we are going to do during our award ceremony, we'll give them a printed copy. They also get a t-shirt. So for those students who we do get to see in person, they're going to get a little bit more special recognition. And we'll also have probably some highlighted stories for the students that have completed first. We're going to do some blog posts and some promotion on our websites.
Oh, great. And what is the size of these clubs or these programs? I guess, and how many you're reaching now versus what the potential audience is? Like, what's the scope of all
So
this?
that's a great question. So within all our youth, so there's about 250,000 Key Club students that are members, and about 8 to 10,000 CKI students. So like for example, here in the state of Indiana, um, I'm an advisor to a local Key Club, and they might have 75 members, but then I might, the next door town may only have 10 or 20. So it just ranges on the types of school. But as you said, we're in Kiwanis is in 80 different countries, and Key Club and CKI, we're actually growing, and we're adding Key Clubs in Italy and also the Philippines, Malaysia, Taiwan. So we have had students in the Philippines who do speak English and can read English that are completing the courses. So that's also really exciting. We've also had some students in Nepal, and I want to say Romania. So
Oh, cool. Sounds like you could get on a plane here. They might need some personal attention in Italy or other places. Is currently though, it sounds like, or I'm inferring that it's just English right now in
it
your
is,
first way of.
yes. We're looking at ways on how to maybe translate it to a couple different other languages.
Mhm, mhm. How did you go? How did you approach finding a curriculum writer or a
Um,
curriculum expert? How'd that happen?
Yeah, so we actually did an RFQ or around locally looking for leadership development, and we found the Center for Leadership Excellence here locally in our state, and they do a lot of leadership training at the fraternity sorority level. Indianapolis has a pretty large fraternity sorority national headquarters type space, and so we were happy to ask them to, do the curriculum writing. They had some background, and then they were instrumental in recommending who they have seen as an LMS user and that they had worked with in the past. So that's where they connected us with Crowd Wisdom, who became our vendor.
And so, what are the technology components that make all this happen? You've mentioned the LMS. I'd imagine, did the third party have the authoring tool and author the content, or is that
So
how that
the
happened?
third party, it's our material. So we purchased it. They authored it in Articulate 360. And the videos, we did the videos ourselves, we in our own little studio, and then they did the publishing of the files, and then we worked with Crowd Wisdom, their LMS system, to post those online. I think there is, AWS. The other big component is we wanted the students' data to be tracked and kept, and so that it could be connected to our membership database. So again, if the student didn't complete all the courses in their freshman year or sophomore year, it would still stay in the system their junior year or senior year, so that we could connect that and keep it open for 4 years or 5
Are
years.
are all students in the AMS, and that's how they get into the LMS?
Yes.
Are they
So
in the AMS first?
so the courses are free, and they gain access through it through a single sign-on through our membership system,
Wow. Okay. Cool.
and then it connects to the LMS, and that pops up, and we're hoping our membership system, as I said, is an older set of Personify that we haven't updated in a while, and so we're migrating to a Salesforce Fontiva large platform.
And so now you got all this data. Must be great. You can sit up there like a mad scientist and actually see the programs working and growing. Tell me about the measurement of it, like what you're looking at, what measurable results you're seeing or trying to measure or
Yeah,
measure.
so we're trying to measure right now it's outputs. Hopefully in the future it'll be outcomes of like trying to track the students of where they are in their leadership positions. But for right now, we're tracking the outputs of completions and where our students in the world or in the United States or in Canada who are completing the courses, and is there something that we can do better to promote this, to share this information, and like at which levels of our organization? Is it the club level or a state level or an international? There's different roles within the organization, and some of those students are more eager if they're already a leader, and we're hoping to target those students who want to become leaders. So
Oh, interesting. And so you mentioned before about how expensive it is to send the paper out, beforehand. What
and
are
also
some?
it's expensive to attend convention. Not every student can attend convention. We usually only have like 1,000 out of our 250,000.
Well, so you're seeing, are you seeing like a wash in costs essentially by saving those costs is what you invested in the creation of this? Did you have to invest, I guess, more in the creation of this and you get it back over time? Like what are your
So
thoughts on that?
that's a really good question. We were able, so Kiwanis actually has a children's fund foundation. And so we actually applied for a grant through the foundation. And part of the foundation's, I want to say, funding priorities is student leadership and development. So we're seeing that. So we were able to start out with that. And then we're hoping moving forward that we may be able to offer this to non-members, and it would be a pay for the course. So we are looking at that in the future because there is capabilities to charge for the courses in the LMS. So maybe National Honor Society or, other high school organizations who have leadership positions may be interested in the courses in the future.
Wow, great idea. Great idea. As a proud father of a recent National Honor Society member, that would be a great market for you, I would think, to expand out into that. That's interesting. And so what's next on the horizon? Where are you going to take all this? Where's it going to be in 3 years?
So in 3 years, I would say we are leveling up our courses, and we're working on adding some more international focused courses this fall. Also looking at like the UN sustainable goals and how we can do some courses and some education to our members around that. As well as we're having a master class, a global leadership certificate master class, kind of an in-person activity-based leveling up the education and training at our convention. And then I would say what I just said a minute ago is taking this to a broader audience if we could get paid for courses.
Yeah, excellent. Wow, you made a ton of progress. You probably did everything right along the way. But in case you didn't,
No, we had some hiccups.
What's some advice that you could give our listeners as we're wrapping up here? Some advice based on those hiccups. What would you do differently if you could wave a magic wand and go back a few years and start this all over again?
So I think that people say, hey, we need to do courses, we need to offer something, but you really need to take a step back to do a needs assessment and identify what your starting point is. What is your starting point with? Do you already have the training? Do you already have the program materials? Is this something that you can purchase? Are you looking to meet a legal requirement or a policy requirement so that you could just purchase e-learning courses for a specific topic? Like we actually purchase, Presidium Academy does youth serving organization sex abuse prevention courses. So we use their LMS and their courses. But then for this, we wanted to create our own leadership development courses. So definitely a needs assessment, and then what your starting point is, and then going from there, collaboration. So not only your program staff, who's going to write it? Do you have program staff in-house that can write it, or do you need to find a contractor? What about a lot of nonprofits don't have an IT team or business analysts? So do you need to look outside of your organization for some help in identifying what your business needs are, your case studies? And then also, your training and development people. My role is a training administrator. So I'm not writing the content, but I need to know it, and I need to provide customer assistance, into the system. So having all the people at the table at the beginning, I think is really important, instead of just bringing them in at the end after something's been made.
Did you form some kind of council as part of this to get all those people into there?
We didn't at first, but we are now.
So that's
yes.
the advice.
Yeah, we have a task force now.
Task force. Cool. Great. Well, sage advice. What an interesting program. It must be nice to do so much good in the world, impacting the next generation coming up with all this, and now be able to do it at scale and keep on growing it around the world. Sounds like a fantastic organization, a fantastic job on your standpoint, just to have, and well done on the transformation.
Thank you very much. It's a great place to work, and we are really thankful, especially when we do get to see the students in person and them leading and presenting workshops on their own, and just how amazing and how mature some students are in their training and education skills.
Wow, great. Well, Melissa, thanks for stopping by the show today. You can do a lot of things with your time. Taking the time out of your busy day to share your story is much appreciated by me and all the listeners. So thanks very much for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
All right, listeners, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Talented Learning Show podcast. I'm sure you enjoyed this one. It was a great one, and we'll see you on the next. Have a great day.